Hey everyone, SunTide here. Hope you all are doing great. I definitely am, because I just accomplished something that I think is really cool. So, let me go back to the game, and if you can see there, on the left of the screen, what does it say? Previous total, 4,785 damage. To my understanding, I have just gotten the biggest hit in Monster Hunter Wilds that anyone has ever gotten. And I feel great. So let me tell you all about how you can get the biggest hit in this game and how you, yes you, can beat this number and can go above 5,000. I didn't have the patience for this. This already took me hours. I think I was pretty unlucky, but I'm sure that you, listening to this, can beat this. So, let's get going. So, how do we get this biggest hit in the game? In brief, we're going to be using the Greatsword. We're going to be using the attack called True Charge Slash, which is what you get when you keep doing our triangle combo. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we have a tiny bit of crit to make sure we do crit, and then when we get our crit, we want a huge hit, so we want to maximize our attack value as high as possible. Right now you can see I have 428. We can push it further under dark conditions, but the question that we're going to answer in this video is how do we get this raw attack value as high as possible, given all of this, so many things we can change and how they all add up and stack together. So the first thing we're going to do in this video is going to talk about all the different attack buffs you can get and how they all stack, or sometimes how they don't stack in certain cases. Then we're going to talk about how the different bonuses come in and add together, multiply together, and how they all come together to give us the highest attack as possible. Then talk about how we can make the best build for damage, which is this build. Then we're going to show off how we can get the biggest hit, then actually show off doing it. Then we're going to talk about how we can get an even bigger biggest hit, and what we could change to actually get that. Okay, so let's talk about buffs and how they sometimes stack and sometimes don't stack. So right now you can see I have 111 attack. If I take a Demon Powder, my attack is going to go up to 121. If I take a Might Seed, my attack is going to go up higher to 131. Both of these buffs seem to work for around 3 minutes. However, if on the other hand I take a Might Pill, you'll see that while that normally increases my attack by 10, instead it's going to only increase my attack by 15, from 131 to 146. And in brief, that's just because these two items, the Might Seed and the Might Pill, don't directly stack with one another. Okay? So the Demon Powder is independent of Might Seed and Might Pill, but when you have two effects that overlap, like the Might Pill and the Might Seed, then the stronger effect takes precedence, but when that runs out, the weaker effect will continue. So, let's say we took a Might Seed, we wait about 10 seconds, then take a Might Pill, as we did right now. So the first 10 seconds, we will have the Might Seed bonus. Then, for the 20 seconds after we activate a Might Pill, we'll get the plus 25 attack bonus. However, eventually that will run out, and then we'll go back to having just the Might Seed. So you can see I went from 146 back down to 131, what it was before we had the Might Pill. And if we wait long enough, eventually the Might Seed itself will run out. You can see the Might Seed has a little buff on the top left of the screen, this little like half-eaten pizza. That's going to go down. That's been going down at the same rate as the Demon Powder, even because they both have the same cooldown. So yeah, they'll both last around 3 minutes, and they don't stack with one another. Well, at least the Might Pill and the Might Seed don't stack with one another. Different items stack and don't stack. So the Demon Drug and the Mega Demon Drug get 5 and 7 raw, and they don't stack, so you always want to have the Mega Demon Drug if you just want to maximize your damage. Demon Drugs are easier to make, but Mega Demon Drugs are stronger. Might Seeds, Might Pills don't stack with one another. However, particular set bonuses also don't stack with them. So Powerhouse, which is a set bonus you get from Doshigima's Might, doesn't stack with Might Seed and Might Pill. So if you try to get max damage by using Doshigima's Might, like with the Guardian Doshiguma pieces, and use Powerhouse, that actually doesn't work. That has no effect. Doshigima's Might does not do anything. In the same way, Protein Feed, which you get from Shuwu pieces, also don't stack with Might Seed and Might Pill. Interestingly enough, both Powerhouse and Protein Feed have the same attack bonus as Seed and Pill, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, the takeaway point is that Might Pill and Powerhouse don't stack with one another, which is pretty interesting. Other skills also don't stack, so Demon Powder doesn't stack with Warcry, which is the Blangonga set bonus. So yeah, that's why I'm a bit iffy about recommending Warcry sometimes, but it is free unlike Demon Powder, which is nice. Now, what else is there? So Power Charm does seem completely independent, so you always get +6 attack just by having a Power Charm in your inventory, which is great. Heroics and Piping Hot Meal also don't stack. So if you put like 5 Heroics with your Guardian Doshiguma gear and have Piping Hot, Heroics isn't going to be doing anything, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, so don't bother with Guardian Doshiguma Heroics if you're trying to get big hits, because you're going to eat for Piping Hot anyway, and you're going to have the Mind Pill anyway. So yeah, the main take-home point is that skills don't usually overlap, but many set bonuses, item buffs, and food skills do overlap with one another, so you got to be careful and pick the right ones when you're trying to get max damage. So, now that we know a whole bunch of set bonuses, don't add up together with food skills, what is good? What do we actually want in our build? That's what we're going to talk about right now. And to my understanding, the best set bonus that we can go for that doesn't have overlap with any other skill or food in the game is going to be the Jindahad set bonus. So if you have 4 pieces of the Jindahad set bonus, you get the skill Binding Counter, and the skill Binding Counter gives you a massive plus 50 raw. Now, it gives you plus 54 in some plus 50 raw in some pretty weird situations. You need to get hit by Frostblight, get hit by Webbing, or get hit by a Power Clash, which are all very situational. In the training room, at least, what you can do is you can just simply turn on the skill Binding Counter or Jindahad's Revolt. So you can see right now I have 231 roll. When I turn the skill on, I just get a massive 281 roll plus 50 roll. And yeah, you can get that by having 4 Jindahad pieces. Now what's really cool is that when you have 3 beta pieces from the Apex monsters, including Jindahad, you get the other set bonus called Lord's Fury or Resuscitate. And this one gives you plus 10 raw when you recover from a status effect. And we can also just turn that on in the training room. So this gives us another plus 10 raw. I go from 281 to 291. So the point is that having 4 Dahad beta pieces just straight up gives you plus 60 raw. So yeah, 4 Dahad is the best way to go for a set like this. But there are, of course, many other considerations. So, what armor skills do we want? Well, basically, once you get more than even 1 or 2%, we can get a crit, and therefore we're just going to focus all in on raw. And there are a lot of good ways you can get raw pretty reliably when we actually try and go for it. So the skills Counter-Strike, Adrenaline Rush, and Resentment all give 5 to 10 raw per level, which is the highest. So we want to load up with them as much as we can, and honestly we can't even max all of them at once, so we got to pick and choose. Counter-Strike is very good, so Counter-Strike gives you bonus to raw when you get hit by an attack that would knock you back. So that includes things like barrel bombs. So if I drop this, you'll see that the skill Counter-Strike will activate, and I'll get plus 25 raw, which is nice. The skill Adrenaline Rush also works. So Adrenaline Rush is a skill that boosts your attack when you roll an attack, or when you otherwise rush an attack. So let me make the monster attack. Now, if I correctly roll the attack, I will activate the skill Adrenaline Rush. You can see that right now. And I got a nice bit of extra attack on top of that. And the difficulty with at least Adrenaline Rush is it only lasts for 30 seconds, which is pretty quick. So once this skill activates, we're starting a timer. You can see right now that I have a timer on screen right now. I have because it's only been 5 or 10 seconds, you can see my Adrenaline Rush counter is counting down. So if you don't see this Adrenaline Rush counting down, that's also pretty weird as well. So yeah, there's one more thing to keep an eye on and to be careful about when you're trying to get this max damage buff. And the skill Resentment gives you plus 25 raw when you have red recoverable health. So you can see that when I take this damage, I will have this red recoverable health, Resentment will activate. Eventually I will fully heal and the skill Resentment will wear off. However, in the training menu, you can turn recovery off, and then you'll have Resentment on permanently. So this skill is also very reliable in the training room, which is great. So with all those skills, you can get a huge raw bonus. Agitator gives you raw bonus typically when a monster is enraged. We can also turn that on, as you can see here, to get me, in this case, plus 16 affinity and plus 10 affinity. Sorry, plus 16 raw and plus 10 affinity, which is really good because it gives me a tiny bit higher chance to crit. Very nice for trying to get that tiny bit of crit. And most annoyingly is you want to get the skill Self-Improvement. Self-Improvement is a 1-slot skill, which should increase my attack. You can see right now I'm 357. If I go in and I turn this skill on, you'll see that my attack is still 307. This skill is weird, this skill is annoying, and this skill is one reason why this video took so long. So are you ready for my Self-Improvement shallow dive? So Self-Improvement is a 1-slot, and so it can be slotted into like a lot of actual builds if you really want it, but I'm not sure if you want it. So what Self-Improvement does is it gives you raw and defense after 10 minutes, and increases every 10 minutes until 30 minutes goes through. Every 10 minutes you get plus 4 raw and plus 5 defense. So because of this, it is completely useless until 10 minutes have elapsed, but after 10 minutes, having plus 4 raw on a 1-slot skill is actually very good. So if you do take more than 10 minutes in a hunt, you can just use the skill and get free raw. Well, free 4 raw. And you don't need the skill on for the counter to count outside the training room, so you can use this build without Self-Improvement. Then after 10 minutes have gone by, you can just put decoration in and get plus 4 raw, so it's situational in a real hunt. In the training room, it doesn't quite work like that. The timer only goes down when you actually have the thingo switched on in the menu, and so you would need to wait 30 minutes for the skill to be fully elapsed every time you try. And what's annoying is if you ever cart, the timer resets, so you go from 30 minutes back down to 0, you need to wait 30 minutes again. And because we're relying on like bombs to get us to low health, it is very easy to cart yourself and have to wait the 30 minutes again, which is terrible. So yeah, I hate this skill. And even though it could be good, I will never use it in the casual hunt again, because I do not have fun waiting 30 minutes each time between attempts. But you can, you should. It's a good skill if you do take a while in your hunts. But yeah, it does give you defense as well, which is nice. And so when this skill activates, you can see like the defense in the buff bar at the top. So if you don't see that, that's also pretty weird. Just saying. Okay, so now that's all the armor skills. Let's talk about the weapons. So what we want to do is you want to make sure we have wide sharpness. So wide sharpness gives a 1.32 something bonus to your raw damage. And this occurs over everything, so this is really, really strong. You need wide sharpness to make sure you get max damage. So you want to pick a weapon with wide sharpness. And weapon skills are all very strong as well, so we want to make something that has a lot of slots or otherwise good skills, and we want to get as much raw as possible on top of that. So all that together makes the choice for a weapon pretty obvious. We want to use the Artian Greatsword, the Varenzia, I believe it's called, and we want to make sure its attack is as high as possible. Now, I have a confession to make. I didn't bother resetting for the Greatsword. I only have 3 attack refines. So I have 3 attack, 1 sharpness, 1 affinity. So you can push the number I got much higher if you get 5 attack boosts. I didn't, but you can. Okay, so now, I said that weapon skills are very, very important. And one of the most important ones are going to be critical boost. Whenever you get a crit, you get plus 3% extra damage per level when you crit. So from 1.25 times bonus to 1.4 times bonus, which is a 12% improvement on a crit, which is very nice. This is the second best weapon skill in the game. The best weapon skill in the game should surprise you. It absolutely surprised me. The best skill to boost damage in the game, and what genuinely inspired this video, is Mind's Eye, okay? Okay, so I will make a detailed video on Mind's Eye next. That is my next video. Honestly, this video was just a sidetrack off of that video. But basically, what Mind's Eye should do is it improves your damage by 30% against hard targets. Hard targets are parts where the hit zone is below 45. So the hit zone, if you don't know, is just how much damage a monster takes, depending on where you hit it. If it's under 45, Mind's Eye will activate, and you'll get plus 30% damage. However, what's weird is that wounds get the 30% attack bonus so long as they qualify before the wound. Let me explain that. So right now I have the skill Mind's Eye. I'm not doing anything right now. So I have 307 raw. I'm going to make the monster soft and have wounds everywhere. And I'm going to hit the monster with this great sword attack on the side. And you'll see I'll do 332.7 raw. 3.7 damage. If I make the monster hard and do nothing else different, still have 307 attack, and I attack the same spot, I just got a massive attack bonus by switching the monster to hard. Let's do it again. So let's go back to soft. Make sure it's not a fluke. 332.7. Let's put it to hard. And I'll get 400. So, if the monster qualified for Mind's Eye before the wound, it qualifies for Mind's Eye after the wound. When the high-performance barrel puncher, the training dummy, is wounded, it has a maximum hit zone value of 100, which means you do full damage to the monster. When the monster is set to hard, its base hit zone value goes to 40, and so it qualifies for Mind's Eye, and so you get a 30% damage bonus on the softest part in the game. And that is why Mind's Eye is absolutely insane for this method, and it's honestly a really good general use skill. Now again, hold tight for my full-on Mind's Eye deep dive, which will hopefully be my next video, and hopefully won't be too long after this one. But yeah, that basically just means that Mind's Eye is incredibly strong, and that is like the little tiny boost on our damage overall to make sure we're as high as possible. Okay, with that all in mind, let's try and calculate what our raw should be. So, how do we calculate a raw? So basically, one, we take in our weapon raw, add all things like attack boost, the weapon skill, or attack boost on artisan weapons. Then we multiply all of our bonuses that multiply together, okay? The multiplicator bonuses all multiply together. So if Fortify is a 1.1 bonus and it stacks twice, and we get Heroics, which is a 1.3 bonus, we have 1.1 times 1.1 times 1.3. And we get a massive attack bonus that way. Then, after that, we add all of our extra stuff on top of that after the multiplication. Okay, so that means stuff like Fortify is going to be slightly weaker because, you know, the plus 25 we get in Counter-Strike isn't going to be multiplied by 1.1, but they're still strong anyways. So, let's go through the example of our actual build that we're going to be using. And let me show you the build in full right now. Let's go to the menu, and let's change this build, which I don't think I actually bothered naming yet. So it's this one. So here, we have 4 to hard pieces, so everything except for the waist. The waist is going to be the Udra Mire Coil because it has resentment too, which is very nice. And then we're going to slot in counterattack, which is Adrenaline Rush, to make sure we get Adrenaline Rush 3 for nice bonuses when we dodge. We're using the Counter Charm, by the way, to get Counter Strike 3. We want Furor, which gives us resentment for a nice attack that way. And we want 1 point of self-improvement via Growth Jewel. The weapon is going to be the Varianza with Mind's Eye and Critical Jewel, and we're going to use any sleep heavy bowgun, put in a sleep jewel just to make it as easy as possible for the monster to go to sleep. Right now I have the Artian heavy bowgun saved. You can use any bowgun that sleeps, and honestly, I had weird luck, and for some reason I couldn't get this to work with a Artian heavy bowgun. Talk about that more later. But yeah, so try using another heavy bowgun as well, just for the sleep. So that means our full skill build is going to have 5 crit boost, 3 Mind's Eye, 5 resentment, 4 agitator, 3 adrenaline rush, 3 counter strike, 2 adaptability, 1 bind resistance, and a 1 self improvement. And let's calculate our attack that way. So we said that we're going to start off with an Artian weapon with 220 raw. You can push this to 230 with a better Artian weapon. I just, again, didn't bother with that. Now we have our multiplicative attack bonuses. So we have 2 ones that are very visible. So one is Piping Hot and one is Evasion Mantle. So Piping Hot is a food skill you get. Make sure you eat with a voucher or at one of the other regional food places to make sure you get +5 raw from eating as well. You want to keep re-rolling until you get piping hot, because when you have low enough health, that'll boost your damage by 1.35 times. The threshold is pretty low. I'll show you that later on. And you want to use the Evasion Mantle, which gives you a 1.2 times attack bonus. Now, the Evasion Mantle is actually pretty cool here. So, here's a cool little greatsword tech. You can see that when I attack this large barrel bomb, the explosion did not hit me. My greatsword is longer than the large barrel bomb's range. Which means that if I space it correctly, I can hit it, I can roll into it, and activate Adrenaline Rush that way. What's more is that the Adrenaline Rush roll shortcuts the strong Charge Slash, which means I can get to the true Charge Slash even faster, as you can see there, which is pretty cool. So you basically want to space your large barrel bomb placement when you activate it, and this will let you have the Evasion Mantle attack bonus and also the Adrenaline Rush attack bonus, so you get a huge attack boost for that. So that's nice. And yeah, we get Mind's Eye as well as another multiple attack bonus. So this one doesn't show up in the menu, but it's there as well. 1.3 times, and this is where it occurs in the formula. You can get that via testing. Then, with that, we have all of our additive attack bonuses. So we get 5 from eating at a feast, like we said. We get 6 from having Power Charm, 7 from Mega Demon Drug. This one lasts a while, so you put that on first. 10 from Demon Powder. 25 from having a Mind Pill, which is a very low time, so you want to get that out there as quick as you can. 25 from Resentment 5 at low health. 16 from Agitator 4, which is when the monster is enraged, or we can just turn it on. 20 from Adrenaline Rush. Again, as we said, we can just roll into the barrel bomb to get Adrenaline Rush, which is cool. 25 from Counter Strike. Activating Counter Strike with the Greatsword is easy. We just roll and tackle. We roll and tackle, and then Counter Strike activates, which is nice. 12 from Self-Improvement. Again, we just need to wait 30 minutes. You can see that I have some attack at some defense by the defense boost on screen. 50 from Binding Counter and 10 from Resuscitate, which you can just turn on from the menu. And altogether, that gives us 211 additive attack, which goes on at the end. So, how does our attack look at the end? We get 220 times 1.35 times 1.2 plus 211, which gives us 567 visible attack, which we can verify. But in practice, we also have the 1.3 times Mind's Eye bonus, which means our real attack is going to be something like 674.32. So that means that our total damage is going to be this 674.32 times 1.9, which is a motion value, how strong our true Charge Slash is, times 2 from the monster being asleep, times 1.324-ish from the sharpness, times 1.4 for land critical hit, which gets us 4,750 damage. And we get a tiny bit more from the tiny bit of element we have on our weapon. So, let's go through how we actually get that value. So, now, let's go through our setup. So, basically what we're going to do is we're going to first try and eat for piping hot, which I did before this video. Then you might need to roll over and over again, and you're going to want to use your vouchers just to make sure you also get your +5 raw from having like a good meal. Then, on the training settings, you're going to want to change a few things. You're going to make sure you have all of your selected skills on, including self-improvement. You're going to want to turn off natural recovery. This way you can get resentment to activate consistently. You want to change the orientation, at least for me, and that way it's easier to space your attacks a bit better. You can put the monster onto smash mode with weak knockback and high strength, just to make it as easy as possible to get down to low health later on. And most importantly, you want to make sure that the monster is always wounded, and the hide setting is set to hard. That way we can get our big Mind's Eye hit. Okay, so with that all done, then we just need to wait the 30 minutes to get self-improvement to activate. I think the easiest way to check for this is to just make sure your defense is as high as possible. Your defense should increase by 5 every 10 minutes, so when you have your defense increased by 15, you are good to go. Then you want to get yourself to low health. So I think the easiest way to do that is... let me see if I can... The camera is behind my screen. Okay, so I have a bit of a potion, and then you can either get hit by this thing, or equip some barrel bombs. So move this over. Please don't fall, laptop. Okay. Hit yourself with a small barrel bomb a few times. Eventually, if you do this long enough, you'll get an idea for how much damage you take. If you tackle, you'll take less damage than hitting it with a normal attack. So roll, and your triangle attack lets you tackle. So with this, I'll be just above piping hot range, and the next time I tackle the barrel, I'll be in piping hot range. Now that I'm on low enough health, I want to take a Mega Demon Drug. So, with a Mega Demon Drug taken, we're going to want to place down 2 large barrel bombs. So, the first barrel bomb you place is going to have pretty important spacing. I want to put it in line with this rock. You see this small rock to my left? I'm going to place the Mega Barrel Bomb there when the monster is faced on the left. So this will give me just enough space to make sure I land the true charge slash. The second one can go anywhere. I just put it down here. Then we want to equip our sleep bowgun. So I have this already attached. Make sure you have this ready before you wait the 30 minutes. Because, as stated, when you go back to the chest, self-improvement will reset, which is going to waste your 30 minutes. Now make sure you have your sleep ammo ready. If you want, you can prime the sleeps. You can do like a hit or two just to make sure that you aren't so pressed for time later on. Now, we want to put on our evasion mantle. If it's on, we want to just reset it just to be safe. And we want to take our demon powder. So now we're on a bit of a timer, but it's not too tight. So I'm going to swap this right now, because everything else after this is going to be a bit more tight than it is before. What we're going to do is we're going to put the monster to sleep. Sleeping gets shorter every time the monster is asleep. So we'll only have about 4 or 5 chances before the monster will wake up before our actual attack. So we're going to want to make sure every sleep counts. So we're going to want to put the monster to sleep. Then we're going to swap to our greatsword. Then we're going to tackle the first barrel bomb, and then dodge the second barrel bomb before we do our true charge slash. Okay? So, let's do it. So let's try and get the monster to sleep. Will it happen in this clip? Cool. Now, let's go and, as quick as we can, swap to our greatsword. Swap to Might Peel, pull out the greatsword, tackle the first barrel, put our weapon away, take our Might Peel, hit this with the overhead slash, roll into it, shortcut to a strong charge slash, and then do our true charge slash at level 3, hit it, and hope for a crit. That didn't crit. So, as you can see, that didn't work out so well. I didn't get the crit. I only did 3,432 damage. If that crit, that would have been mostly multiplied by 1.4, and I would have gotten the 4,800 as I showed earlier. Let's show that clip on screen right now, just for comparison. More or less the exact same thing, but I get the crit off and I do that 4,800 damage. As you can see, it is relatively reliable. The hard part is basically just making sure you have enough patience to get the self-improvement to last, to get to 30 minutes. And if you miss enough times, you have like 5 attempts before the monster gets up too fast, before you can actually get your sleep attack off. Oddly enough, this did take me way more attempts than I would have expected to take. I think I must have taken at least, 30, 40 tries. Like, I've been trying all day on and off, which is absolutely crazy, and I think below what is just a reasonable probability. Honestly, my best guess is I think there's just some weird pseudo-random crits going on. Like, maybe when you change weapons or something else, it's hard to get a crit on the first hit. So what I actually did is, initially I used an arcane weapon to get my sleeps off, but for the second attempt, and right now I use a different sleep heavy bowgun with 0% affinity. I could have just been incredibly unlucky all day, but I know this worked. So if you have trouble getting crits with a Artian bowgun or something, try something with lower affinity, and maybe that'll work. But yeah, basically, eventually, if you try hard enough and enough times and you get everything to work out, you can get this massive 4,800 blow, which is great. But as I've hinted this whole time, there is much more that you can do. You can have a better weapon. You can get 3 raw pieces in your weapon and also try and get 5 upgrades, and therefore have 230 raw. That alone should give about 140 extra damage, which will put you, I think, in just under the 5,000 damage threshold that I think we'd all celebrate. However, you might also be able to stack other food skills. Caprice Meal, I'm pretty sure, is its own independent attack bonus. Maybe Break Time works, but maybe that also doesn't allow stacking. So you could try that if you're interested. One thing that will probably work is Hunting Horn shenanigans. Like you try and buff yourself with Hunting Horn and then swap to Greatsword. Of course, that means you can't sleep Icon to sleep, so you'll need to like rely on some other way to get the monster to sleep. But yeah, that should be doable. Maybe you can use a Sleep Greatsword or something. There are probably ways you can push this number higher with those. These other options could possibly work as well. I don't know how you could get them to work, but maybe you're smarter than me and you could figure it out. So, for example, you could proc Offensive Guard. For some reason, it doesn't seem like small barrel bombs proc Offensive Guard. Offensive Guard gives you a massive raw bonus if you perfectly guard an attack, but yeah, it doesn't seem to work with small barrel bombs. If you could get it to work, that would be crazy good. And the same way, Burst gives you really nice attack bonuses if you can continually attack a monster. Of course, since we're trying to sleep the monster, it's hard to get Burst going. But if you could get it to work, you could get it to work. The True Charge Slash gives an attack bonus if you hit it with the first hit of the True Charge Slash. So let me show you that. Basically, you have your Overhead Slash, you have your Strong Charge Slash, and the True Charge Slash are two different hits. You have this like first hit and then the second hit. If you land the first hit, the second hit is stronger. But the monster's asleep, then the first hit will wake up the monster, so you need to do some crazy tech just to make sure that the first hit hits when the monster is awake, and the second hit when it sleeps. If you do that, you should also be able to get Burst going, but I don't know how you'd be able to do that. But the point is, between these and the previous stuff, getting 5,000 plus damage is very possible, and you could do it with a better weapon and with like a good caprice, meal timing, and all those things. 5,000 should very much be possible. Whoever can get this to like first legitimately, I will link them and I'll be like, yeah, good job. But yes, if you can do that, that would be great. But yeah, with that, I think this is this video. This is how you can get 5,000 plus damage in Monster Hunter Wilds, how I got 4,800 or so. And yeah, hopefully you learned something cool about how damage stacks or about Mind's Eye. With that being said, I can thank all of you so much for watching. I can thank all of my subscribers and all my Patreons. As I've been saying for a few videos now, my videos are not being monetized because of work stuff. Hopefully they'll be resolved soon. So because of that, I'd especially like to thank all my Patreons, especially Jack Bingham and Lumavolt, who are in my highest tier. Next video will be a full-on deep dive about Mind's Eye and all the weird stuff that I figured out in preparation of this video, or related to this video. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you're interested, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.